my YouTube family. Welcome back to Eva's Kitchen. I would like to give a thanks and a big hug to all my new subscribers. I say thank you for tuning in and watching my fall decor. So we're gonna keep the momentum going, and I hope to see you next week on my next video. So today we're going to be making an apple spice pumpkin loaf bread. And you know I always have a tip for you. So let's get started. Today's ingredients is gonna be a Duncan Hines cake mix, pumpkin puree. We need about 15 ounces. And we'll be using 1/4 cup of cooking oil. Now, I'm gonna give you the tip early today because we're using a recipe from a cake mix, which is Duncan Hines, but we're not going to use the ingredients that's needed on the box. And the tip of the day is whenever you have a cake mix out of the box, you don't have to use water. To make it taste homemade, you can substitute it with buttermilk, whole milk, anything but water, and it'll enhance the flavor. So instead of using on the back of this cake mix, it says 1 cup of water, 3 eggs, and 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. But we're not going to use 3 eggs because we're making a bread, and we're going to condense it down to 1 egg. And we're not going to use water. We're going to use oil. And reason we're not using water because we have the pumpkin puree. And it's going to substitute for the water and make it more moist. And we won't need the water because it'll be a little bit too loose. And let's get started on that mixing. And remember, today we got 4 ingredients. Remember our challenge for September? We only had 5 ingredients or less. So we're still keeping that theme. So we're going to take the cake mix out of the box. Nope, we're doing it backwards. What we're going to do first, I don't want to put the cake mix in first. I'm going to crack my 2 eggs because I need to blend them together with the oil. I'm going to put the oil in, blend it together. Nice and incorporated, mixed together. Now we're going to open our puree, and we're going to use the whole can. We're going to put that in. I have a spatula here because it gets all the goodies out. Let's get that in. We're going to mix that a little bit. Now, we got that incorporated. Now we're going to put in our box cake mix. And we're going to mix it well, but we don't want to over mix it because we can make the cake a little dry, loaf bread dry. But whenever you're making bread, you don't use, if you're making it from a cake mix, don't use what the ingredient says on the back with the eggs. Cut your eggs short by 1. Because this is going to take 55 minutes to cook. And when a cake only takes 30 minutes. Now, preheat your oven to 350 and get it nice and ready. And we're going to get all this incorporated in. And remember the tip, when you're making a cake mix and you want to make it nice like homemade, you can substitute with buttermilk, whole milk, and you also can put Jell-O pudding mix in it. But I would stick with the vanilla Jell-O. Now you see how that's coming together? And we didn't put any water in it because the egg and the pumpkin puree get it all mixed together. And then I got my loaf pan over here. And I always get a loaf pan. I think this is a 9x5 loaf pan. And that's what we'll be using. Now you see there's a little bit of white flour mix there. We want to make sure all that's incorporated. But we don't want to over mix. And then to top this off once it's done, we're going to do a hack from Texas Roadhouse in Old Charlie. Remember the restaurant Old Charlie in Texas Roadhouse? We're going to do an apple honey butter. We're going to put that on there once it's all done and ready. So I think I got it nicely incorporated. So let's get it in the loaf pan. Ooh, it smells wonderful. I wish we had smell-o-vision. It smells wonderful. You see how this splash will get all the goodness out? Now, let's get it out. I floured my pan and I sprayed it in flour. You can also put parchment paper in to keep it from sticking as well. So, wasn't that easy? 4 ingredients. Even my sister-in-law can make this. Shout out to my sister-in-laws. Okay. Reason I'm even it off because I want it to come out nice and even when I take it out of the oven. Now this is going to bake, depending on your oven, anywhere from 50 to 60 hours. So we're hoping 55 minutes is out. If not, we'll check it with a toothpick to see how it comes out. Okay. Have yourself a cup of coffee, tea, a glass of wine, and we'll come back and have a taste test. Now we're getting ready to make our cinnamon honey butter, a copycat from Old Charlie and the Red Texas Roadhouse. So what you need is a stick of softened butter, 1 stick of softened butter, 1/4 cup of honey, and a teaspoon of cinnamon, and mix well. So I have my butter in my pan already softened, and I'm gonna get teaspoons of cinnamon. Put that in. I have 3/4 cups of honey, pure honey. If you don't have honey, use the kind you have, the cloves. It'll all work. We're just looking for that sweet taste, and the cinnamon gonna enhance the butter. Make sure the butter is nice and soft, and just give yourself a good workout. I was gonna use my hand mixer, but I'm gonna take, since the butter is so nice and soft, I put it out 4 hours ago, so it's nice and soft. We want to flip it real good. And what else would be good on this, if you don't want to use the cinnamon butter, you can just sprinkle a little powdered sugar on there, and it'll be just fine. Now, and if you want to kick it up a notch for brunch or something, or a baby shower, or wedding rehearsal, I think we can use cream cheese frosting, and that'll enhance it. You see how nice it is? That's our apple cinnamon butter. Let's take a little taste. Delicious. That's really gonna bring out that pumpkin flavor spice cake. Get all this honey out of here. Because I got a sweet tooth. And we're gonna make it nice and sweet. I could put a little bit of confectionate sugar in it, but I think this will be okay. This is my sweet tooth coming out from tasting. So that's our apple cinnamon butter. Not apple, I'm sorry. Cinnamon butter. Now, remember, we're using a Duncan Hines Perfect Moist Spice Cake mix to make a pumpkin bread. Because it's got all the ingredients in there already that you need and spices that you need to make. It got the nutmeg, the cinnamon, and the allspice already incorporated in the mix. So that's what we use to make the loaf bread. I don't know if I said it earlier, so I want to come back and revisit that to let you know it's a perfect moist spice cake. And this is our apple cinnamon butter. So when we get it out of the oven, we're going to spread a little bit on it. So see you in a few. Now with my cinnamon honey butter, it didn't have the sweetness that I desired, so I went and put in powdered sugar, 1.5 tablespoons. So always taste to see if you need to add or add to it. So that's what I did, was put a little bit more sugar there so it would give that sweetness that I desire. So that's just a tip I wanted to let you know. Okay, let's see if it's ready, my friends, because I am ready for it. Ooh, look at here. Just look at there. So we're gonna let it cool for a few minutes before we put the cinnamon honey butter on it, and we'll be right back. Okay, family, it's ready for its taste test. So let's see what we just did. Doesn't it look wonderful? I'm gonna take a little bit. This is my apple butter. I put it in the refrigerator to gel a little bit because it was a little, look at there. Just look up there. Oh my goodness. Delicious. Delicious. Now, the butter, the cinnamon honey butter will keep in the refrigerator for 7 to 10 days. So just take you some saran wrap, scoop it in there, put it in the refrigerator, so when you get ready to eat your pumpkin bread, you already have it. If you're like me, the bread's not gonna last overnight. It's delicious. It's not too sweet, it's just right. So, make you some spiced pumpkin loaf bread. Remember, I'm Eva, and this is Eva's Kitchen. Blessing and have a wonderful week.